devastating Hurricane Harvey seemed to come from nowhere, putting an abrupt end to the perplexing 12-year-long hurricane drought in the continental U.S. How many remember the scenario with Hurricane Sandy? Miraculously, weather forecasters somehow knew 7 days in advance that Hurricane Sandy would make an unprecedented 90-degree westerly turn exactly where it did. As Harvey was making landfall, the radio frequency microwave transmissions being used by the weather makers to manipulate Harvey were undeniable. Powerful frequency transmissions kept Harvey from migrating further inland and breaking up. The forecast track and behavior for Harvey was beyond unprecedented. Again, how could forecasters know so far in advance? Because Harvey's behavior was not an act of nature. It was manipulation with patented climate engineering technologies. The manipulation of Harvey from the Shreveport transmission facility and numerous others was relentless, as this even more recent animation of the Shreveport transmissions reveals. Wave after wave of migrating atmospheric moisture is held back and in place from the powerful radio frequency transmissions.
Este ciclón tiene un movimiento muy extraño. Normalmente los ciclones van hacia la parte norte. Este está avanzando hacia el sur. O sea, este está haciendo exactamente un movimiento contrario.
Economistas, banqueros, fondos de inversión y financieros se muestran cada vez más interesados en la crisis medioambiental. Afirman que pueden salvar el planeta a su manera, con dinero. Especies y bosques en peligro son tratados como productos financieros. La naturaleza es el dorado del siglo XXI. Un nuevo sector económico con promesas de inmensos beneficios para los inversores. Bancos, financieras, empresas y estados acuden atraídos por los beneficios. En Estados Unidos, la protección de las especies está en manos de estos nuevos banqueros. Empresas, inmobiliarias, constructoras de carreteras, cualquiera cuya actividad ponga en peligro la fauna salvaje tiene que pagar a estos bancos.
La naturaleza no se produce para ser vendida. La naturaleza no tiene un valor económico intrínseco, que sea necesario hacer visible, que sea necesario revelar y que sería revelado por el mercado. Eso es lo que oímos a los que quieren la mercantilización de los servicios ecosistémicos, la comercialización de la naturaleza.
Borneo es la tercera isla más grande del mundo. Sus bosques tienen casi 150 millones de años de antigüedad y hace un siglo cubrían toda la isla. En la actualidad, solo queda una tercera parte de ese bosque.
Malua Biobank es una reserva forestal de 34.000 hectáreas en el Borneo malayo. La peculiaridad de este proyecto es que intenta dar un enfoque comercial y no benéfico a la conservación de la naturaleza.
Las plantaciones de aceite de palma han sustituido al bosque primario. Ahora, la isla es un océano del monocultivo. La catástrofe ecológica es completa.
En vez de que no valga absolutamente nada, que no tenga ningún valor, la compañía productora de aceite de palma tendría que pagar ese precio para poder destruirlo y cultivar.
El Banco Malua vende sus bonos a productores de aceite de palma y a otras compañías procesadoras de alimentos de todo el mundo que usan ese aceite en sus productos.
Esta es una lógica muy perversa porque quiere decir que el que tiene plata puede comprar los bonos y destruir la naturaleza. Los certificados de biodiversidad son permisos para contaminar, son permisos para destruir la naturaleza. Por eso este mecanismo es perverso.
Ecologistas y banqueros. Esas son las nuevas caras de la conservación de la naturaleza. La banca ecológica apunta a los políticos con su arma económica. Proteger el medio ambiente es un nuevo negocio. Grandes regiones del planeta ya están contaminadas. Hay que coger el dinero allí donde pueda encontrarse.
En Bruselas, la capital europea de los lobbies, hay entre 15.000 y 50.000 lobistas. Y la mayoría de ellos trabajan para corporaciones. El Consejo Empresarial Mundial para el Desarrollo Sostenible es un grupo de 200 compañías, muchas de ellas con un pésimo historial de problemas medioambientales, como Río Tinto, Shell, BP, etc. Las mismas compañías que pertenecen a este grupo, en su actividad diaria real, en el lobby ante los gobiernos, presionan exactamente para lo contrario. Presionan para conseguir políticas que beneficien sus intereses comerciales, que no afecten a sus actividades, que no les obliguen a hacer cambios estructurales, que puedan seguir teniendo un impacto devastador sobre las comunidades y sobre el medio ambiente.
Vale es una gigantesca empresa minera, miembro del Consejo Empresarial Mundial para el Desarrollo Sostenible. En el corazón del Amazonas, la multinacional explota la mina de hierro más importante del planeta. Y aunque Vale plante árboles voluntariamente para compensar su impacto, también sabe cómo convertir sus buenas obras en lucrativas acciones que vende en los mercados. Estas inversiones le permiten estar registrada en el Índice de Desarrollo Sostenible del mercado bursátil. Sin embargo, aunque afirme estar reforestando el bosque amazónico, Vale solo planta una especie de árbol, el eucalipto. En 30 años, todas las tierras con eucalipto serán un yermo. Hasta entonces, los mercados financieros habrán recompensado a Vale por su inversión verde. Finalmente, la multinacional obtendrá aún mayores beneficios vendiendo sus árboles para biocarburantes. Disfrazar un monocultivo como milenaria selva tropical amazónica es una de las grandes decepciones de la economía verde. Una mentira que consiste en afirmar que los mercados pueden proteger la biodiversidad. Esta es la principal solución ofrecida por los políticos internacionales y los mercados para proteger el planeta. Los países desarrollados pagan por plantar árboles en lugar de cambiar sus métodos. Los principales bancos y empresas han emitido los bonos verdes, un producto de inversión inventado por el Banco Mundial. Ya han emitido decenas de miles de millones de bonos con el objetivo, afirman, de que las finanzas trabajen para salvar el medio ambiente. ¿Qué garantía hay de que las así llamadas finanzas verdes sean beneficiosas para el planeta?
La evidencia es muy clara. El precio ha llevado a la degradación y la destrucción. El precio y la financialización son una enfermedad que debemos derrotar. Es como un cáncer del planeta y de la mente humana.
La única forma de salir de esta crisis ambiental es saliendo de una lógica de mercado, donde es el mercado el que nos domina, y pasar a una lógica donde es la conciencia humana la que define y decide qué es lo más apropiado para restaurar el equilibrio de la naturaleza.
Barcelona is part of Catalonia, which is a region that has been trying to leave Spain, but there's a lot of struggle about that. And not long ago, the mayor of Barcelona is said to have supported the Palestinian against Israel, and that is normally a way, if you want to get beaten up, that's the way to go. The targets they always choose are locations with a touristic value or a national identity, and also transports, like airports, train stations, bus stations, these type of things. This crazy guy who happened to leave his ID and driver's license in the car, very handy once again, in a rental van. I'm going to come back to why they're using rental things. So it's said that he started at the Plaza de Catalunya, which is the place in Barcelona. And it's a very symbolic place for Barcelona and the whole fight for Catalonia. Then another thing is that when there's multiple victims, there's always multiple nationalities. And this is, when they carry out these false flags, it is to involve as many countries emotionally as possible. The reason why they do all of these vehicle attacks are, we were talking about that, for preparing people for smart cities, so that the vehicles will be the problem. We're back to problem, reaction, solution. The vehicle is the problem, and the solution will be driverless cars. Now, they're going to make restrictions, or they're suggesting restrictions on van rentals and car rentals. When you look at the footage in Las Ramblas here in Barcelona, there's more than 200 CCTV cameras put up around this area. It's the most popular area in Barcelona. 200 cameras officially, not one of them working. Does that sound familiar to you? Then you have no video footage from normal people, and then it is all then blamed on Muslims or ISIS. ISIS keep taking responsibility, which I think is very kind of them, being a creation of the US and Israel, backed by Saudi, as the boogeyman. But that, yet again, you have to look at each and every single event, because sometimes, even though it's a so-called false flag operation, there can be real victims, but there are also many times only crisis actors, or it can be a mixture of both. I don't call these things a terror attack. I call them a media event where the product is terror. The product is fear, to pump it out to mainstream media, which they control to a large extent, so that the population will be totally terrified, thus accepting and even welcoming more and more control, more and more robocops, more and more CCTV cameras, more and more body scanners in airports, train stations, and also justifying these incredible, horrific wars that are being started based on these alleged terror attacks that never took place.
de Macron se debe sobre todo a una operación psicológica contra la opinión pública y el pueblo francés en general. Hubo una gran comunicación, una gran operación de marketing político, consistió en vender como si fuese un producto de uso, una propuesta electoral que los franceses rechazaban tanto en comparación con el antiguo presidente o con Nicolas Sarkozy. Es decir, que la mayoría de los franceses que eligieron a Emmanuel Macron no lo eligieron para el programa que él proponía, sino más bien para, vamos a decir, romper con la política tradicional y para una esperanza de cambio. Al darse cuenta de que es la misma política neoliberal que sufren, que han hecho su vida una pesadilla, inmediatamente después del encanto, después vamos a decir de la emoción, cuando la emoción ya cae, pues hay una reacción, vamos a decir, sana, que es de volver a oponerse a todo lo que representa el presidente Macron.
Best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
우리 핵과 탄도 로켓으로 심사를 가져올리지 않을 것이며 우리가 선택한 핵무력 강화에 대해서 단 한치의 양보도 없다는 것을 설명했습니다.
Si Corea del Norte lleva a cabo otra provocación, ignorando nuestras advertencias, tendrán que enfrentar un duro y severo castigo por parte de nuestras Fuerzas Armadas y de la alianza entre Estados Unidos y Corea del Sur. Queremos dejar bien claro que nuestro ejército está preparado para responder a cualquier tipo de provocación de Corea del Norte.
Como declaramos a principios de este año, la República Popular Democrática de Corea continuará fortaleciendo su capacidad defensiva con la fuerza nuclear como predilección, siempre que Estados Unidos mantenga sus amenazas nucleares y no cese los ejercicios militares a las puertas de nuestro país. La presión de Estados Unidos y sus actos provocativos solo proveerán una justificación adicional para que la República Popular Democrática de Corea tome medidas para fortalecer sus capacidades de autodefensa.
Creemos que las recientes maniobras marítimas a gran escala, Ulchi Freedom Guardian 2017, realizadas por Estados Unidos y la República de Corea desde este 21 de agosto al 1 de septiembre, no contribuyen a la disminución de la tensión en la península coreana.
El problema está que tenemos una memoria muy floja y ocurre esto muy a menudo. Es una cosa que no es nueva, llevamos así del año 2006 y es un fenómeno que viene sucediendo, desaparece o se reblandece, vuelve a recrudecerse, sale otra vez y tal. Es un tema muy largo.
Вести диалог с людьми, которые путают Австрию с Австралией. С этим ничего уже не поделаешь. Таков уровень, видимо, политической культуры определенной части американского решения.
Globalists need enemy, but the right enemy, because the right enemy of globalists are they themselves, because they are going to destroy humanity, to exchange the humankind by artificial intelligence, by kind of cyborgs, and they try to destroy all kind of links of the humanity with its essence, and that is absolutely negative. Their goal is against normality. And they need, in order to keep attention elsewhere, they need some enemy, and they have designated Russia as enemy number one. It helps to them to displace attention from the real crimes they commit. Our president is very democratic and very reasonable, very pragmatic leader. He refuses globalization. He refuses world government. He tries to defend and reaffirm and strengthen Russian sovereignty. That's all. Putin is obstacle for globalization, for fulfillment of the wicked plans of globalists. This battle is not political. That is a metaphysical battle that has nothing to do with short or superficial interests, national interests, and so on. The battle is much deeper than that. And Putin plays here the role of defender of Christian civilization, of traditional society, the defender of human nature. Globalization is a kind of very special ideology that tries to cut all links of human individual with collective identity, with church, with nation, with people, with ethnic, with tradition, and with gender as well. The gender politics is the actual weapon of the same globalist, ultra-liberalist theory. But when we start to oppose to liberalism, we are falling into the trap. We are either going to communism, that is false completely because it's the branch of the same roots, or we are embracing the kind of nationalism or fascism. That is as well the wrong way. And globalists, they use this attitude because they accuse everybody who is against them to be either communist or nationalist or fascist. We are human because we belong to some community, traditional community, organic, historical community. When the liberals, they try to cut all these ties, because for them, nature is something that should be overcome, that should be controlled, should be destroyed finally. The continuation of the same globalist strategy will signify in the next time, in the very, very near time to all the humanity, the end of the human. Now we should be united in order to fight against globalist elite that tries to manipulate Russians as well as Americans. Our peoples are on the same side of the front line.
5G is really the elephant in the living room that no one is paying attention to. So it's been promoted as something that's very, very good. It's about the Internet of Things. And what exactly is the Internet of Things? It's about everything talking to everything else. Now, broadband experience everywhere, anytime, smart vehicles, smart transport, smart infrastructure. You know, it uses a millimeter wave, which can be extremely dangerous to all living things and not just people. It's about mass surveillance and about weaponizing the airwaves. And the studies on it are amazing. There's all sorts of studies, but they're not interested in the studies. That's the thing. This is being rolled out without any studies. They're doing it basically because there's a lot of money involved in rolling it out.
Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority. If something can be connected, it will be connected.
Now, the Internet of Things is far more concerning than people might think at first glance, because it isn't just your fridge and your smart toaster and your smart television and your smartphone. It's also your computer, your microphone, your camera on your computer. It's also the surveillance system that we are all installing in our homes by getting these new computer systems. Something else the 5G grid can do is it can see through walls, it can see through houses, it can see what you're carrying along the street, it can see if you're carrying money, it may be able to tell if you're carrying a weapon. And if you are carrying a weapon, it can disable you with a millimeter wave, or it can even perhaps send a signal to a drone and have you targeted from the air. It's also possible to take control of vehicles with computers in them. It's an all-encompassing system. And this is not just being used for communication. This is being used for surveillance and control. What this whole system is leading towards is complete digital control of everybody and a merging of human beings with AI. So they're virtually putting a fence around the entire Earth, like a space fence around the entire Earth, which is going to be active and involved in the 5G network. And it's about integrating it all together, the integration of satellites and 5G networks. This 5G grid is being rolled out, and this whole machine society is coming online. And if people don't pay attention, if people continue to use their credit cards, if they continue to use their smartphones, in another 5 to 10 years from now, when all their cash is digitized, all their movements are tracked, all their thoughts are monitored, and everything they do is under surveillance, people are going to look up from their research and go, hang on a minute, how did I end up in this high-tech prison? And at that point, what can anyone do?
have lost control of the technology in our homes because the people who are putting this technology in our homes are never doing it to make our lives easier. They're doing it to control us. That's their agenda. And they are so wealthy and so rich, it doesn't really matter whether it costs them $500 million and they don't actually get their money back because they're working to orders. These controlled people are bringing up vast amounts of money to put satellites around the Earth to run 5G wireless from satellites. The cost is phenomenal. What you would normally do is build a phone mast and do it. But they want satellites because they don't want people turning them off. If you have satellites which are ground controlled, then it's easier to get at them and turn them off or sabotage them. But if it's running from space, it's very hard to blanket and stop it. And think about the Terminator films with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was called Skynet, and it was a space-based system. What the whole object of this blasted 5G is to attempt to create an entity within people. It is to place a energy being. It's not like a jinn, it's not a demon, it's nothing like that. It's more like a fourth dimensional, lower fourth type being, and attempting to get them to infest in a person. Because what AI is doing is attempting to control the nervous system of the human race. 5G is a potential that they see to allow them to rewire the brains of people. The whole object is to turn people into robots. Their agenda is to control the human race, and they don't give a fig about anything else.
What the global elite have figured out, your house is a geographic feature on the face of the planet. But when you go out of your house and you go to a doctor, you go to a store, you go to, whatever, they lose track of you because your house is stationary, but you're moving. Well, the new theory in social engineering is we have to also set a geographic point, if you will, on all the moving objects in society. Cars move, people move, drones move, other things move. They want to track those moving things as points of geography, and that requires connectivity to do that. Mobile connectivity, not fixed connectivity, mobile connectivity. So the new 5G standard is going to provide people in cities, for instance, on their cell phones and other things that they carry with at least 100 megabit per second connection. Now, you probably don't even get that at your home right now with your cable. That's so fast, you just can't hardly imagine how fast it is. That means everything's connected in real time. Real time. 5G is going to allow for instantaneous survey of the entire landscape. Geospatial intelligence is the driving technocrat mentality behind 5G and behind connecting the world, that is the Internet of Everything, together. That is the driving impetus behind this. And you can see how science is going to put this dragnet around the human race. I think the most appropriate end state that we could name it would be scientific dictatorship.
Como usted sabe, esperábamos ansiosamente la posibilidad de obtener imágenes de la presencia de objetos voladores no identificados en el cielo cuando ocurría el eclipse. Hasta el momento no hemos recibido imágenes convincentes que demuestren esa presencia. Como ocurrió en el 2009 en China, donde evidentemente la gente salió a ver el eclipse y grabó a estos objetos, al grado de que el gobierno chino se comprometió a dar una respuesta a lo que había sucedido y nunca lo hizo. También sucedió en México en 1991 y por esta razón pues esperábamos que en este eclipse también se dieran estos acontecimientos, pero lo seguimos esperando.
The secret space program is made up of basically paperclip scientists that came over after World War II. I also believe that our secret space programs are reporting to probably some key Anunnaki and off-world races that are actually lodged down in Antarctica at this time as part of the Nazi base. The bottom line with NASA and the secret space program, and why it should matter to Americans and the world in general, is that their money is going and being funneled right into these programs. And their children are also being used, abused, trained, segregated. They pick only the creme de la creme and bring them into the projects to work as scientists, engineers, to work on and off planet, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of my whistleblowers are those types of children who grew up in the program, were spotted at a very young age. The Terminator scenario on planet Earth is real. We have a Skynet chip. We have a Skynet organization. We have a network of nanosatellites that are watching our every move. We are a human experiment. We have been also invaded multiple times by other races. So now we are a melting pot of many, many other interstellar races. And the Gray Human Hybrid program is a program to be very aware of. It has been very successful. So it worked through the abductions of females and through the implantation of eggs with a lot of what we call those gray. This is not the programmable biological entity grays, which are like a little artificial intelligent being that were created even by our secret space program. But I'm talking about the grays that come from other planets and have invaded our planet. And they want to be part of this grand experiment. They want to have boots on the ground, and this is the way they do it. They put in their DNA, and then they reincarnate. The bottom line is that you've got a whole slew of wonderfully gifted children who are fully half gray on this planet now, who have come in through this Gray Human Hybrid program that the military was fully culpable in allowing to happen. The trouble with this is, and the trouble with being half gray and half humanoid, so to speak, is that you are going to be a lot less empathetic. You're going to be highly intellectual. You're going to also have a huge area where there's a lack of an emotional connection between the brain and the heart. And so this is a problem with some of the incarnating beings here to Earth at this time. In essence, we are food for a race of reptilians who have been trying to dominate this planet for eons. There have been interstellar wars with these beings. That's what the War of Worlds is all about. And we are continuing it here on and off the planet.
My general sense is that you're very positive that we're going to win this War of the Worlds. And that human consciousness, human empathy, and human love is ultimately going to triumph.
Yes, and we are far more intelligent than we give ourselves credit for. So the bottom line is that our emotional intelligence, which is a combination of our, intellectual and heart sort of awareness, this resonant sort of composite, and our souls are incredibly intelligent, and we will bypass, and we do bypass artificial intelligence in this way. And this is how we can deceive the state. This is how we can deceive Big Brother, etc., is by using that resonant ability and also the Kundalini energy that we come by through our birthright. The bottom line is we are linked to Source and through our higher selves, and we have actually multiple incarnations simultaneously. So this is simply a vehicle, this humanoid body, but we can have complete mastery over it. We are slowly but surely connecting the dots and realizing that we have been slaves, a slave species, to other races that have wanted to dominate Earth for eons. So we're breaking out of that shell, so to speak. So we're discovering new things about our past, new truths, new intelligence that we had that was once has been lost for eons is coming back to us. new memories, the memories of the past, present, and future. We are time travelers. By nature, that's the nature of our genome and our abilities. This is facilitating this awakening here on planet Earth. And part of that awakening is starting to recognize that the original human body was actually immortal. We are an interstellar species that has a long history going into the future. Whether we stay on Earth or leave Earth or go out into the multiverse and inhabit other planets or not, it doesn't really matter. We are the safeguards of the library, the genetic library here on planet Earth, however, and we do need to defend sovereign ground.
The majority of people in the Western world spend the majority of their life living by the hormones of stress. Now, stress is when your body's knocked out of homeostasis. Now, you have three types of stress. You have physical stress, you have chemical stress, and then you have emotional stress. And each one of those things knocks your brain and body out of balance. We can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. You can begin to think about some future worst case scenario, and because the privilege of human beings is that we can make thought more real than anything else, we can focus on that possibility to the exclusion of everything else. And you can knock your body out of physiological balance just by thought alone, and your body, as the unconscious mind, believes it's in that experience in the present moment. And we can unfold past bitter memories that are tattooed in the recesses of our gray matter, and like magic we bring them to life, and in that moment it's real. And we know that the hormones of stress dysregulate and downregulate genes to create disease. So that means then your thoughts can make you sick. So here's my question. If your thoughts can make you sick, can your thoughts make you well? The hormones of stress, though, give the body and brain a rush of energy. And it's like a narcotic. It becomes a drug, and people become very addicted to the adrenaline and the stress hormones, and they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their emotional addiction so they can remember who they think they are. The bad relationship, the bad job, the terrible circumstances, all of that is in place because the person needs that to reaffirm their emotional addiction. So then if the hormones of stress become like a narcotic, and you can turn on the stress response just by thought alone, then we could become addicted to our own thoughts. You know, like if you have an insecure thought, you begin to feel insecure, right? So if the body has been conditioned to the mind of insecurity, don't you think then the moment you're no longer going to think insecure thoughts and fire and wire those circuits in your brain, and then produce the blend of chemicals for you to feel that way, don't you know your body is going to do what? It's going to look back up at your brain and say, hey, I modified my receptor sites for you. We've been doing this for 20 years. I'm counting on those chemicals coming. Now you're just going to stop? And it's going to start sending signals back to the brain. So when we live by the hormones of stress, and all of the energy goes to these hormonal centers and away from the heart, of course the heart is going to be the first organ that's starved of energy. And the hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. Feelings and emotions are the end product of past experiences, and we can remember experiences better because we can remember how they feel. If the environment signals the gene and the environment produces a chemical reaction, then as long as you're feeling the same way every single day, there's no new information coming from the environment, and you keep signaling the same gene. And if you keep knocking your body out of balance, that imbalance becomes the new balance, and you're headed for some type of disease. And I'm living by the same emotional reaction, one long refractory period. And if you keep it going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And most people wear their emotions layer by layer, and they believe that's who they are. then the body literally is living in the past. And we can't create a new future holding on to the emotions of the past. We try to use our brain to change our brain. We try to use the ego to change the ego. We try to use the program to change the program, and it only endorses it. When you become pure consciousness, and we have all the biological and neurological machinery to do this, by the way, you come preloaded with everything you need. You don't need anything else. That when you forget about yourself and you become pure consciousness, a thought impossibility, the moment you are consciousness, now you have dominion over your body. So then if you're working on your anger and your frustration, and I'm working on my fear and my anxiety and my judgment, and I'm taking care of me and you're taking care of you, then everybody was doing that, we would sooner or later start to see some change in the world.